Good afternoon, everyone. I am grateful to be a part of this International Conference on Economics, Business, Tourism, and Social Sciences 2021. In behalf of my co-authors, Mr. Ryan Ray Mata and Ms. Rosalie Nacar, I, Ms. Rowena Imelda Ramos from Adventist University of the Philippines, will present our study entitled Mediating Effect of Ethical Climate on the Relationship of Personality Types and Employees' Mindfulness. Globalization and technological advancement bring changes to the organization as well as to the behaviors of the employees. As a result, this descriptive correlational study examined the effect of perceived ethical climate on individual differences, including personality types and psychological state, particularly mindfulness among employees. Purposive sampling was utilized to include 203 participants from different higher institutions who agreed to answer questionnaire in Google Forms that were distributed through their emails. Results revealed respondents' personality types have high levels of agreeableness, conscientiousness, and open-mindedness with moderate level of extroversion and low level of negative emotionality. Individual and organizational mindfulness of the participants were considerably very high. The participants perceived their organizations to have high level of consideration on rules, standard operating procedures, and law and professional codes with moderate regard on personal morality. More importantly, results of structural equation modeling established the claim that ethical climate increases the significant association of personality types to employees' mindfulness. With the evident association of personality types and mindfulness, training should be provided to enhance employees' personality and deal with possible differences. The significant mediating effect of ethical climate encouraged organizational leaders to establish a work environment that uplifts employees' morale to increase mindfulness. These personality enhancements help employees to give out their best to yield better or outputs for the organization. With the advent of globalization and technological advancements, leaders and members of the organizations are facing changes that may lead them to stressful and perform negative behaviors. Mindfulness has been given substantial interest in various disciplines, including organizational behaviors. Personality types, including the domains of agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroversion, negative emotionality, and open-mindedness were explored in this study as correlates of mindfulness. Ethical climate, which refers to the collective perceptions among organizational members to what constitutes right behavior, was also considered in this study. This present study was designed to deal with the insufficiency of examining the effect of ethical climate on the relationship among personality types and employees' mindfulness. This research answered the following questions. What are the personality types of the respondents? How do the respondents perceive their organizational ethical climate? What is the level of individual and organizational mindfulness of the respondents? Is there a significant relationship between personality types, perceived ethical climate, and mindfulness of the respondents? And what is the effect of the perceived ethical climate to the relationship between personality types and employees' mindfulness? This study utilized the descriptive correlational design to get a sufficient and detailed measurement of the variables and examine the relationships between them. Purposive convenience sampling was used to include 203 respondents who answered the research instrument using Google Forms. The instrument for this study had 4 parts. The first part of the instrument was a constructed questionnaire to determine the demographic profile of the respondents. The next part was the short version of the Big 5 factor markers from International Personality Item Poll developed by Soto and John in 2017. The third part of the instrument was the assessment for mindfulness at work, which was developed and validated in the dissertation of Maynard in 2019. The last part of the instrument was the revised ethical climate questionnaire, which was developed by Colleen and Bunson in 1993. The study was subjected to ethics review by the Ethics Review Board of the participants' institution. The data gathered was statistically analyzed, evaluated, and summarized. The following are the results. Table 1 displays the personality types of the respondents. The result of this study illustrated that higher education institutions' employees, regardless of their demographic status, have high levels of personality types in terms of agreeableness, conscientiousness, and open-mindedness, while the level of extraversion is moderate. On the contrary, their negative emotionality is low. Mid and 2021 believe that having negative emotions are normal part of a personality, which when handled well can be beneficial to one's well-being. Table 2 demonstrates the extent of ethical climate as perceived by the respondents. The respondents perceive their institution to have high emphasis on laws and professional codes as well as set rules and standard operating procedures. Nelson in 2019 with Rowena mentioned that Code of Ethics establish standards and advocate ethical behavior in the organization and guides the employees to not commit unethical behavior. Table 3 explains the extent of mindfulness of the respondents. The employees' mindfulness was very high as shown in the findings of the study. The high level of respondents' mindfulness result to control thoughts, improve healthy lifestyle, and enhances self-regulation behaviors and establish valuable social relationships. Table 4 presents the correlation between subscales of personality types and employees' mindfulness. Table 5 presents the correlation between subscales of personality types and perceived ethical climate. Table 6 represents the correlation between subscales of perceived ethical climate and employees' mindfulness. Evidently, personality types, mindfulness, and perceived ethical climates have significant relationship to each other. These findings support the study of Barkan et al. On 2016, as mentioned by Tang and Braber on 2020, that personality traits can be utilized to influence mindfulness. Structural equation modeling analysis of moment structures was utilized to analyze the mediating role of perceived ethical climate to the relationship of personality types to employees' mindfulness. Figure 1 shows the interaction between personality types and employees' mindfulness as mediated by perceived ethical climate. Table 7 confirmed that the variables in the structural model produce a good fit. Table 8 showed that personality types have a significant effect on employees' mindfulness and on perceived ethical climate. Likewise, perceived ethical climate has also a significant effect on employees' mindfulness. The specific effects of personality types to mindfulness were presented in Table 9. The direct effect of personality types to employees' mindfulness is statistically significant. Similarly, the indirect effect of personality types to employees' mindfulness, as mediated by ethical climate, is also significant. Thus, the total effects of personality types to employees' mindfulness increases with the presence of encouraging ethical climate. Therefore, ethical climate partially mediates the relationship of personality types to employees' mindfulness. Findings of this study support the study of Barkan et al. That personality traits can be utilized to influence mindfulness. Most importantly, the effect of personality types to mindfulness increased when the perceived ethical climate was entered into the structural equation model. The results of this study significantly address the cited scarcity in literature of establishing the role of ethical climate on the effect of individual differences as measured by personality traits to the psychological state of mindfulness. Thus, organizations should employ programs that will regulate one's personality traits as it can significantly influence mindfulness at work. Further, high level of ethical climate should be empowered in organization generating better outputs from the employees. In addition, higher institutions should also develop programs or activities that will help employees consistently cultivate their mindfulness. Participating in mindfulness training programs can contribute to innovative work behavior and increase engagement. Additionally, a purposeful emphasis on mindfulness as a possible developmental lever for leaders in the framework of conferring on personality-related behaviors may be useful. Thus, establishing a positive and supportive ethical climate increases mindfulness at work towards greater productivity. Leaders should also consider uplifting the ethical climate of personal morality of the employees. Because when employees realize the reasons to act according to communicated policies, but given room to keep their autonomy at work, they tend to be more ethical. Further, when employees feel that the workplace makes decisions in accordance with organizational mindfulness, they are inclined to experience a more engaging connection with their work and their peers. Thank you so much for listening.